Damp, the silent destroyer of caravans and motorhomes, is an enemy that no caravan owner wants to encounter. It's a menace, a persistent issue that, left unchecked, can cause significant damage to your beloved mobile abode. Let's talk about this common problem. Damp in caravans and motorhomes can be a sneaky adversary. It doesn't just appear overnight, it's often the result of gradual wear and tear, seeping in through hairline cracks in the outer shell, or finding its way into typical damp-prone areas. It's the unseen enemy, slowly but surely causing havoc beneath the surface. Take Bailey caravans, for instance. They're a popular choice among caravan enthusiasts, known for their quality and durability, yet they too are not immune to the damp issue. It's a universal problem, one that doesn't discriminate between brands or models. So, where does damp usually strike? Well, it often targets the corners, the floor edges, the windows and door frames, basically any area where there's a junction or join. Over time, these areas can become susceptible to moisture ingress, especially if they're not sealed properly, or the sealant has started to degrade. But here's the good news. Damp is not a death sentence for your caravan or motorhome. It can be dealt with, and more importantly, it can be prevented. Early detection is crucial. The earlier you spot the signs, the easier it will be to nip the problem in the bud. You'll save time, money, and a whole lot of stress. And let's not forget about the importance of regular maintenance. By keeping a vigilant eye on those vulnerable areas and by ensuring that your caravan is properly sealed and weatherproofed, you can keep the damp at bay. As with many problems, prevention is better than cure. But if damp has already set in, don't worry. We'll guide you through the repair process. First things first, how do we identify damp in our caravan or motorhome? The presence of damp can be quite subtle, but there are a few telltale signs that you can keep an eye out for. If you notice these signs early, you can nip the problem in the bud and save yourself a lot of trouble down the line. The most common sign of damp is soft walls. If you press your hand against the wall of your caravan or motorhome and it feels soft or spongy, that's a clear indication that water has seeped into the structure. Similarly, if you see any discoloration or stains on the walls or ceilings, particularly near windows or doors, that's another sign of moisture intrusion. Another indicator is the smell. Damp often gives off a musty, moldy smell that's hard to ignore. If you step into your vehicle and it smells like a forgotten basement, chances are you're dealing with damp. Condensation is another sign to look out for. If your windows are constantly foggy or water droplets form on the inside of your caravan or motorhome, it could mean that there's excess moisture in the air. This condensation can then seep into the walls and structures, causing damp. But perhaps the most accurate way to identify damp is by using a damp meter. This handy tool measures the level of moisture in the material it's pressed against. You simply press it against your wall, floor, or ceiling, and it'll give you a reading. If the reading is high, you've got damp. Remember, damp isn't just a cosmetic issue. It can lead to structural damage, mold growth, and even health problems. So it's crucial to deal with it as soon as you spot it. So keep an eye out for soft walls, discoloration, a musty smell, and condensation, and invest in a damp meter for accurate detection. Once we identify the issue, it's time to put on our DIY hats and get to work. Before diving into repairs, let's gather all the necessary tools and materials. To effectively tackle damp in your caravan or motorhome, there are a few essentials you'll need. Firstly, a damp meter. This handy device will help you locate and measure the extent of the damp. It's like a detective's magnifying glass for moisture, able to pinpoint where the water is coming from and how much damage it's done. Next on our list, a good old-fashioned screwdriver. You'll need this to remove any fixtures or fittings around the dampened area. A set of different sizes should cover all bases, and a cordless drill with a screwdriver bit can save you some elbow grease. Now, when it comes to materials for the repair, we'll start with a sealant. A high-quality, waterproof sealant will help you fill in any cracks or gaps that may have allowed moisture to seep in. Following the sealant, you'll need a waterproof membrane. This is essentially a barrier that will prevent any future moisture from reaching the repaired area. Think of it as a raincoat for your caravan's vulnerable spots. To stick this membrane down, you'll need some adhesive. A strong waterproof adhesive is best for this job. You want something that won't give up the ghost at the first sign of a raindrop. Finally, you'll need some replacement materials. If the damp has caused significant damage to the walls or flooring, you may need to replace these sections. This could involve plywood for the walls, vinyl for the floors, or even specific fittings for your particular model of caravan or motorhome. Remember, every repair job is unique, and you might need additional tools or materials depending on the extent and location of the damp. But with this basic arsenal, you're well equipped to start tackling the problem. With our tools ready, it's time to address the damp. The first step in tackling damp is to remove the affected areas. Now, let's dive into the step-by-step process of safely removing these damp-affected materials without causing further damage. Step 1. Identify the affected area. This is crucial as it's not just about removing the visible damp, but also the hidden damp that could be lurking behind the surfaces. Step 2. Safety first. Before you begin, ensure you're wearing the correct protective equipment. This includes a pair of sturdy gloves, a dust mask, and safety glasses to protect yourself from any harmful particles. Step 3. Use the right tools. A utility knife or a similar sharp tool will be your best friend here. Remember, the aim is to cut away the damp material without damaging the surrounding area. Step 4. Begin the removal. Start by gently cutting into the damp material. Be careful not to cut too deep, as you don't want to damage any structures underneath. Step 5. Discard responsibly. Collect the removed materials in a sturdy bag for proper disposal. Damp materials can be a breeding ground for mold, so it's important to get rid of it as soon as possible. Step 6. Inspect the area. Once you've removed the damp material, inspect the area for any remaining damp patches. If you find any, repeat the process until the area is completely free of damp. Step 7. Clean the area. After the removal process, it's crucial to thoroughly clean the area. Use a mild detergent and warm water to wipe down the surfaces. This will not only remove any remaining damp, but also prevent mold from developing. Remember, patience is key here. The removal process can be tedious, but it's vital to ensure a thorough job to prevent future damp issues. And there you have it, folks. This is how you safely and effectively remove damp-affected areas from your caravan. Once we've removed the damp materials, we can begin the restoration process. Stay tuned for our next segment where we'll dive into the details of repairing and sealing your caravan to make it good as new. Until then, keep those caravans dry. Now let's restore our caravan to its former glory. The repair process will involve a few steps, so let's break it down. First, you'll need to apply a sealant to the affected areas. This could be a silicone-based sealant or a more specialized product depending on the extent of the damp. The key here is to ensure you cover all the damp spots thoroughly. It's a bit like icing a cake. Make sure you get a good, even layer all over. Next, you'll be installing a waterproof membrane. This membrane acts like a raincoat for your caravan, repelling water and preventing it from seeping into the walls. You'll want to measure and cut your membrane to fit the area you're repairing, then apply it over the sealant. Make sure you smooth out any bubbles or creases for the best protection. Now that the membrane is in place, it's time to replace the wallboard. This may seem daunting, but it's just like hanging wallpaper. Measure the area, cut your wallboard to size, and secure it in place. Don't forget to trim around any fixtures or fittings. In terms of securing the wallboard, you have a few options. You could use adhesive, screws, or even a combination of the two. The important thing is to ensure it's secure and flush with the rest of your caravan's interior. You don't want any gaps where damp could sneak back in. If you followed these steps correctly, your caravan should now be damp-free and ready for your next adventure. But remember, prevention is always better than cure. Regularly check for signs of damp and address any issues promptly to avoid larger repairs down the line. And that's it for the repair and sealing process. It might seem like a lot of work, but with a bit of patience and some elbow grease, you can easily tackle this project and extend the life of your beloved caravan. Now that we've sealed off the damp, let's make sure it stays that way. Repairing damp is one thing, preventing it from returning is another. But with a little bit of dedication and knowledge, you can keep your caravan damp-free for years to come. Firstly, regular checks are crucial. Just as you would a car, consider your caravan a significant investment that needs routine maintenance. Make it a habit to inspect the problem areas we discussed earlier, the outer shell of the bodywork for hairline cracks and other typical damp-prone areas. There's nothing like a good old-fashioned visual inspection to catch potential issues before they become severe. Secondly, remember the importance of ventilation. Keeping your caravan well ventilated can significantly reduce the chance of damp setting in. When the caravan is not in use, make sure to open windows and doors periodically, allowing for air circulation. This will help to keep the interior dry and prevent the buildup of moisture. In addition to ventilation, consider investing in a dehumidifier. This handy device can work wonders in maintaining a moisture-free environment inside your caravan, and it's not just about preventing damp. A dehumidifier can also help improve the overall indoor air quality for a more comfortable living space. Another preventive measure worth considering is the use of waterproof sealants. These can be applied to the outer shell of the caravan to provide an additional layer of protection against the elements. Just remember to apply it evenly and allow it to fully dry before exposing your caravan to rain or moisture. Lastly, consider where you store your caravan. If possible, try to keep it under a cover or in a garage when not in use. This will help protect it from the harsh elements and reduce the risk of damp. Remember, prevention is always better than cure. These measures may seem like a lot of work, but in the long run, they will save you time and money by avoiding extensive damp repairs. With these preventive measures, your caravan should stay damp-free. Here's to many more dry, comfortable, and enjoyable adventures on the road. Don't just take our word for it, let's look at some real-life success stories. Take the case of Jane from Sussex, who noticed a musty smell in her Bailey caravan. Jane found the culprit to be a hairline crack in the bodywork, allowing moisture to seep in and cause damp. She meticulously cleaned the affected area, applied a sealant, and replaced the damaged interior wall. She now keeps a keen eye on the exterior of her caravan for any signs of cracks or damage. Then there's Tom from Yorkshire. He came across a damp patch in his caravan during a holiday in the Lake District. After identifying the problem area, he used a dehumidifier to dry out the damp, removed the rotten wood, and diligently repaired the area. Tom's top tip: regularly check your caravan for any signs of damp, especially after a rainy season. Let's not forget about Sarah from Devon. She discovered damp in her caravan cupboard. Instead of panicking, she got to work. She removed the affected wood, treated the area with a mold killer, and replaced the wood. Sarah's advice: always check hidden corners and cupboards in your caravan, as these are often overlooked places where damp can take hold. And finally, meet the dynamic duo Bob and Sue from Scotland. They found damp in their motorhome due to a leaking window. They replaced the window seal, dried out the area, and replaced the damaged interior. Their wisdom to share: regular maintenance of windows and doors can save you a lot of trouble in the long run. Each of these caravan owners faced the challenge of damp head-on. They armed themselves with the right tools, knowledge, and a can-do attitude. Their experiences prove that damp is not a death sentence for your beloved caravan or motorhome. As these caravan owners have shown, damp is a manageable problem with the right approach. As we've seen, repairing damp in a caravan or motorhome is no small task, but it's certainly doable with the right tools and a little elbow grease. We've journeyed from identifying the telltale signs of dampness to sourcing the right tools and materials for the job. We've discussed removing affected areas and the importance of thoroughness in this process. We've looked at repairing and sealing the affected areas, with a particular focus on ensuring that these areas are watertight to prevent future damp. We've also delved into preventative measures to help keep your caravan or motorhome dry and comfortable for years to come. And of course, we've seen how real-life caravan enthusiasts just like you have successfully repaired damp in their own vehicles. Thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, please hit the subscribe button for more informative videos like this one.